A cabinet secretary just sat in front of the United States Senate and lied. Not a small lie, not a political spin. A provable, documented, on-the-record lie. And he did it without being under oath, because the committee chairman refused to swear him in. What you're about to see isn't normal political theater. This is something far more dangerous. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why this hearing might be the most consequential cabinet testimony in modern American history. Act 1. The Setup. February 8, 2026. The Senate Finance Committee Hearing Room. A place where policy is made, where billions of dollars in healthcare funding are decided, where the health of 330 million Americans is directly impacted. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the Secretary of Health and Human Services, took his seat at the witness table. He controls Medicare. He controls Medicaid. He oversees the Centers for Disease Control. He has jurisdiction over every federal health program in America. But before a single question was asked, something extraordinary happened. Senator Ron Wyden, the ranking Democrat on the committee, made a simple request: swear in the witness, put him under oath, made lying a federal crime instead of just embarrassing. The Republican chairman, Mike Crapo, refused. Think about that. The person responsible for the health and safety of every American would not be required to tell the truth. And what followed was exactly what you'd expect when consequences are removed. Lie after documented lie. Act 2. The Credentials Gap. Let's establish something fundamental. Robert Kennedy Jr. has zero medical training, zero scientific background, zero public health expertise. He did not take organic chemistry in college. He did not take inorganic chemistry. He did not take biology. He did not take a single pre-med course. He couldn't have passed those courses. By his own admission in legal proceedings, he was struggling with heroin addiction during high school, college, and law school. He failed the New York bar exam while working as an assistant district attorney, a job he only got through family connections. He had to surrender that position. This is not speculation. This is documented record. And yet, he now sits atop the Department of Health and Human Services with a budget of over $1 trillion and authority over the health decisions affecting every American. How did this happen? One word: Kennedy. Donald Trump, who inherited his real estate fortune from his father, who built his brand on fame rather than expertise, was dazzled by the Kennedy name. Fame is currency in Trump's world. And Kennedy is the most famous name in American political history. Expertise didn't matter. Qualifications didn't matter. Medical knowledge didn't matter. The name mattered. Act 3. The Contradiction. Here's where it gets truly bizarre. Robert Kennedy Jr. has spent years calling COVID-19 vaccines a crime against humanity. He's built an entire movement around vaccine skepticism. He's written books, given speeches, created organizations all dedicated to this message. But in today's hearing, when a Republican senator suggested Donald Trump should receive the Nobel Prize for Operation Warp Speed and vaccine development, Kennedy agreed. Let that sink in. He's simultaneously saying vaccines are crimes against humanity and that Trump deserves a Nobel Prize for creating them. This isn't a policy disagreement. This isn't a scientific debate. This is cognitive dissonance at a level that would be funny if it weren't so dangerous. When confronted about calling vaccines the deadliest vaccine ever made, he didn't defend the statement. He didn't apologize for it. He just avoided it. Because two Republican doctors on the committee don't appreciate that kind of rhetoric. So he adjusts his message based on his audience. That's not science. That's politics. Dangerous, deadly politics. Act 4. The Epstein Connection. Then came the most uncomfortable moment of the hearing. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse asked about the protests outside the Capitol the day before. Women demanding the release of Jeffrey Epstein's files. Women who have questions about Kennedy's relationship with Epstein. Kennedy's response? "I don't know about any women on the steps of the Capitol yesterday." That's a lie. Everyone in Washington knew about that protest. It was covered by every major news outlet. It was the talk of political circles. Members of Congress walked past those protesters on their way into the building, and the Secretary of Health and Human Services claimed he didn't know about it. The documented facts are clear. Kennedy flew on Epstein's plane. First, he said once, then twice. Convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell discussed their friendship in depositions, calling him Bobby. None of this proves wrongdoing by Kennedy. But his evasiveness, his changing stories, his outright denial of publicly known events raises serious questions about his credibility. And credibility matters when you're making life-and-death health decisions for an entire nation. Act 5. The Measles Crisis. Al Warnock from Georgia delivered the most devastating moment of the hearing. For the first time, we're seeing deaths from children from measles. We haven't seen that in 2 decades. We're seeing that under your watch. Children are dying, not hypothetically, not in theory, actually dying from a preventable disease that was virtually eliminated in the United States. Measles was declared eliminated from the U.S. in 2000. 20 years of public health success. Decades of children protected by vaccines that work. And now, in 2026, children are dying again. The correlation is clear. As vaccine hesitancy spreads, as Kennedy's anti-vaccine rhetoric reaches more parents, vaccination rates drop. And when vaccination rates drop below herd immunity thresholds, outbreaks happen. This isn't political. This is epidemiology. This is math. This is reality. When Kennedy tried to respond, Warnock cut him off. "You are a hazard to the health of the American people. I think you ought to resign. And if you don't resign, the president should fire you." A United States senator, in official testimony, calling for a cabinet secretary's resignation based on public health failures happening in real time. Closing. This wasn't just another contentious hearing. This was a documented record of dishonesty, incompetence, and dangerous policy being challenged by elected officials trying to protect their constituents. The most unqualified Health and Human Services Secretary in American history, appointed purely because of his last name, is making decisions that are costing lives. Not in the future. Right now. Today. This year. Children who should be alive are dead because parents believe the lies of a man who has no medical training, no scientific expertise, and apparently no commitment to telling the truth even when seated before the United States Senate. February 8, 2026. Remember this date, because this is when the Senate put on record exactly what's at stake. This is the breaking news that matters.